What if the Ford Bronco did not return simply to compete with the Jeep Wrangler, but to expose everything Jeep had been getting away with for decades? For years, the Wrangler practically owned the open-air off-road SUV market in the United States. If you wanted removable doors, a removable roof, serious four-wheel drive, and enough wind noise to make every highway conversation feel like an argument inside an airplane, Jeep was the obvious answer. Then Ford revived the Bronco and arrived with independent front suspension, turbocharged engines, trail driving technology, removable body panels, and enough versions to make choosing one feel like completing a government form. Today on VCar, we are counting down 5 reasons the Ford Bronco can be better than the Jeep Wrangler. And in the second half, 3 reasons it still cannot completely defeat the original off-road icon. Before we begin, tell us in the comments which one you would choose. A Bronco Badlands, a Bronco Raptor, a Wrangler Rubicon, or one of the V8-powered Wrangler versions? Also tell us what state you are watching from, because choosing between these 2 vehicles can depend heavily on whether your weekends involve mountain trails, desert sand, deep snow, or simply surviving a parking lot outside a suburban shopping center. Number 5 is the Bronco's independent front suspension. This may sound like an extremely technical reason to prefer one SUV, but it changes the way the vehicle feels almost every time you drive it. The modern Bronco uses independent front suspension, while the Wrangler continues to use a solid front axle. A solid axle is highly respected off-road because it provides excellent articulation and keeps both front wheels mechanically connected. That is valuable when crawling over rocks at very low speed. But most owners do not spend every morning climbing boulders before work. Some of them occasionally use roads. Strange, I know. Independent front suspension allows each front wheel to react more separately to bumps, potholes, and surface changes. On pavement, the Bronco generally feels more controlled, more stable, and less nervous than a traditional solid axle SUV. The steering requires fewer corrections, the front end feels more predictable, and highway driving can be less tiring. That matters if the Bronco is going to serve as a daily vehicle rather than a dedicated weekend trail machine. The Wrangler's solid front axle remains a major advantage in extreme rock crawling situations, and Jeep's Rubicon hardware is still extremely serious. The 2026 Wrangler Rubicon offers a rock-track 4-wheel drive system with a 4.1 low-range ratio, available 4.88 axle gearing, and a potential crawl ratio of approximately 100.1 with the manual transmission. That is real off-road engineering, not decorative plastic pretending to be rugged. But for buyers who spend more time traveling to trails than actually crawling over them, the Bronco's front suspension provides a better compromise between road comfort and off-road control. Number 4 is the Bronco's engine lineup. The 2026 Bronco offers a 2.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, producing up to 300 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. The available 2.7-liter twin-turbocharged V6 raises output to 330 horsepower and 415 pound-feet, while the Bronco Raptor's 3.0-liter EcoBoost V6 produces 418 horsepower and 440 pound-feet. That gives buyers a clear progression from capable daily driver power to something designed for people who believe desert terrain should be crossed at a speed normally associated with small aircraft. The 2026 Wrangler offers a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with 270 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, along with the familiar 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 producing 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet. Jeep also continues to offer more specialized powertrain choices in selected versions, including its high-performance 392 models. The Wrangler therefore has its own range of personalities, but when comparing the more common gasoline engines, Ford gives the Bronco stronger output figures. More power does not automatically make an off-road vehicle better. Too much throttle on loose terrain can dig holes, break traction, and turn confidence into a recovery operation. But additional torque is valuable when climbing grades, moving through sand, towing, or accelerating a heavy SUV fitted with large tires. The 2.7-liter V6 may be the sweet spot for many Bronco buyers because it delivers meaningful torque without requiring the price, width, fuel consumption, or emotional commitment of the Raptor. Number 3 is Ford's trail technology. Depending on the version, the Bronco can offer up to 7 GOAT modes, meaning goes over any type of terrain. These modes adjust systems such as throttle response, traction control, transmission behavior, and four-wheel drive settings for different surfaces. On the Badlands, available modes include normal, eco, sport, slippery, off-road, rock crawl, and Baja. The names sound slightly theatrical, but the systems have a practical purpose. They help drivers configure several vehicle functions without adjusting every setting individually. The Bronco also offers features such as trail control, trail turn assist, and trail one-pedal driving with certain configurations. Trail control works like a low-speed off-road cruise control system, Trail 1. Pedal driving helps manage acceleration and braking through the accelerator pedal during slow technical driving. Trail turn assist can apply braking to an inside rear wheel to help reduce the turning radius on loose surfaces. It does not transform the Bronco into a shopping cart capable of rotating in place, but it can make tight trail turns noticeably easier. Ford also offers multiple Haas suspension systems, ranging from the more basic Haas 1.0 setup to the Raptor's Haas 4.0 system with Fox Live valve internal bypass semi-active dampers. The Badlands uses Haas 2.0 with Bilstein position-sensitive dampers and includes a front stabilizer bar disconnect. Disconnecting the stabilizer bar allows greater front-wheel movement during low-speed off-road driving, helping the tires remain in contact with uneven terrain. The best part is that the system can be activated without someone crawling underneath the vehicle carrying tools and questioning every decision that led to that moment. Number 2 is the Bronco's removable door design. Both the Bronco and Wrangler offer removable doors and roofs, which is central to their identity. The difference is in how Ford approached the process. The Bronco uses frameless doors designed to be lighter and easier to remove. On 4-door models, the doors can even be stored inside the vehicle using available protective storage bags. That means owners can leave home with the doors installed, remove them when conditions are appropriate, and avoid the small logistical problem of needing a second vehicle just to transport parts of the first vehicle. The Bronco also keeps its side mirrors attached to the body rather than mounting them on the removable doors. This helps preserve rearward visibility after the doors are removed. It seems obvious once you see it, which is usually the sign of a clever design. The Wrangler has improved its own open-air usability and offers quick-release doors, but the Bronco's frameless arrangement and onboard storage option make the process especially approachable for owners who may remove the doors more than once during the first week and then reconsider after discovering how much effort is involved. Number 1 is the Bronco's ability to offer specialized off-road hardware without forcing every buyer into the same personality. The lineup ranges from relatively approachable models such as the Big Bend to the comfort-oriented Outer Banks, the trail-focused Badlands, heritage-inspired editions, and the extreme Bronco Raptor. Buyers can also add the Sasquatch package to selected models, gaining equipment such as 35-inch tires, upgraded axles, locking differentials, additional clearance, and more serious four-wheel drive capability without necessarily buying the most expensive version. The Badlands can provide up to 11.5 inches of ground clearance and approximately 33.5 inches of water-fording capability, while the Bronco Raptor increases those figures to as much as 13.1 inches of ground clearance and 37 inches of water fording. The Raptor also uses the 418 horsepower V6, 37-inch tires, reinforced hardware, and sophisticated suspension intended for high-speed off-road driving. It is essentially what happens when an ordinary Bronco drinks 3 energy drinks and begins watching desert racing videos at 2 in the morning. This range allows buyers to choose how much off-road capability they actually need. Someone who drives through snow and visits easy trails does not require the same hardware as someone preparing for rock crawling in Utah or high-speed desert driving in California. Ford made the Bronco configurable enough to cover all of those buyers while maintaining the same recognizable design and open-air character. Based on these 5 strengths, the Bronco has a convincing argument against the Wrangler. It can be more comfortable on pavement, its mainstream engines provide strong output, its trail technology is intuitive, its removable doors are intelligently designed, and its trim range offers almost absurd levels of customization. But this comparison is not finished. The Wrangler has survived for generations because it still does several things exceptionally well, and the Bronco introduces compromises of its own. In the next section, we will examine 3 reasons not to buy the Ford, including its size, mechanical complexity, and the one area where the Wrangler's old-fashioned engineering can still make the newer Bronco look surprisingly ordinary. Now, we reach the other side of the comparison, because the Ford Bronco is not automatically the better SUV, simply because it is newer, more powerful in several configurations, and filled with enough electronic trail systems to make the dashboard resemble an off-road command center. The Wrangler still has important advantages, and the Bronco introduces compromises that buyers should understand before choosing one. Weakness number 3 is its size. The Bronco looks excellent because it is wide, upright, and muscular, but those same proportions can make it less convenient in everyday situations. Ford lists the 2026 two-door Bronco at approximately 86.3 inches wide when measured with its mirrors, and wider off-road versions with larger tires feel even more substantial from behind the wheel. On an open trail or desert road, that width can create stability. In narrow parking garages, crowded city streets, wooded trails, and tight drive-through lanes, it can make the Bronco feel like it is wearing a backpack filled with bricks. The 4-door version adds useful passenger and cargo space, but it also increases the vehicle's overall length and turning demands. Large tires, squared bodywork, and a tall seating position create excellent presence, yet visibility around the corners of the vehicle still requires attention. Available cameras help, but eventually the driver must remember that the Bronco is not a compact crossover wearing hiking boots. Weakness number 2 is mechanical and technological complexity. The Bronco's trail systems, turbocharged engines, electronic locking differentials, selectable drive modes, disconnecting stabilizer bar, adaptive dampers, and advanced 4-wheel drive hardware create impressive capability. They also create a vehicle with more systems that may eventually require diagnosis, maintenance, or repair. That does not make the Bronco unreliable. It means owners should buy the configuration they actually need. A basic Bronco used for commuting and mile trails does not necessarily need 35-inch tires, multiple locking differentials, extreme suspension hardware, and every electronic off-road feature available. Larger tires cost more to replace, reduce fuel efficiency, increase road noise, and place additional stress on related components. But they look fantastic, which has historically been enough to defeat financial logic. The Bronco Raptor takes this even further with specialized suspension, 37-inch tires, wider bodywork, and a 418 horsepower turbocharged V6. It is an extraordinary machine for high-speed off-road driving, but using one primarily for grocery trips is roughly equivalent to buying a rescue helicopter because your neighborhood occasionally has traffic. Ford's HOS systems and independent front suspension are designed to provide control and comfort across different terrain. But the more advanced the specification, the more important proper servicing and inspection become. And weakness number 1 is the area where the Jeep Wrangler remains extremely difficult to defeat: traditional low-speed, rock-crawling hardware. Every 2026 Wrangler continues to use solid front and rear axles. On the Rubicon, Jeep offers the RockTrack 4-wheel drive system with a 4.1 low-range ratio and an available crawl ratio of approximately 100.1 when combined with the manual transmission and available 4.88 axle gearing. Solid axles allow the wheels on each axle to move in a connected relationship, helping maintain articulation and tire contact over severe obstacles. For drivers focused specifically on slow, technical rock crawling, that design remains a major advantage. The Bronco's independent front suspension is more comfortable and composed on pavement, but it does not behave exactly like a solid front axle when the terrain becomes extremely uneven. Ford compensates with long travel suspension, locking differentials, advanced dampers, electronic aids, and a disconnecting stabilizer bar on specific versions. The Bronco is still enormously capable, but the Wrangler Rubicon's traditional layout feels more purpose-built for the slowest and most technical obstacles. The Wrangler also offers something Ford cannot recreate simply by reviving an old name: uninterrupted cultural continuity. The Bronco has genuine history, but the Wrangler's basic formula never disappeared. Generations of owners, off-road clubs, aftermarket companies, mechanics, and parts suppliers have developed around it. Almost every imaginable modification already exists, from simple bumpers and suspension kits to complete rock-crawling conversions. So, is the Ford Bronco better than the Jeep Wrangler? For many buyers, yes, the Bronco is generally the more comfortable and stable vehicle on pavement. Its turbocharged engines offer strong power, its independent front suspension makes daily driving easier, and its trail technology helps less experienced drivers manage difficult terrain. Its removable doors, body-mounted mirrors, broad trim range, and available Sasquatch hardware make it one of the most complete adventure SUVs sold in America. Ford specifically designed the doors to be removable, while the cowl-mounted mirrors remain attached to the vehicle, improving usability when driving open air. But the Wrangler remains the stronger choice for buyers who prioritize traditional off-road hardware, extreme articulation, and dedicated rock-crawling ability. It feels less refined because refinement was never its only purpose. The final decision depends on where the vehicle will spend most of its life. Choose the Bronco if you want a better balance between commuting, road trips, open-air driving, and serious weekend trails. Choose the Wrangler if you value mechanical simplicity, solid axle behavior, and the deepest possible connection to traditional American off-road culture. Neither vehicle is objectively better in every situation. The Bronco is the more modern interpretation. The Wrangler is the more traditional one. Now tell us in the comments, would you buy the Ford Bronco or the Jeep Wrangler? Which trim would you choose, and what would you actually use it for? Subscribe to Veach Car for more automotive countdowns, comparisons, engineering breakdowns, and honest explanations of what makes popular vehicles worth buying or worth avoiding.